At this moment, there are 57 Islamic countries in the whole world.
As Prime Minister of a country. And if all these countries unite, Muslims would have the world's largest army. Muslims would have the world's largest economy. Oil, petrol. After some time, natural reserves, agriculture, everything would be under Muslim control. This would make anyone think 1,000 times before standing against Muslims, and the Jews know this well. They know that if they want to defeat Muslims, they must first divide them amongst themselves. Netanyahu himself said in an interview that Muslims want to establish a caliphate. They have dreams of a caliphate. But now the question arises, how was such a powerful system of the caliphate snatched away from the Muslims? This all happened 14 centuries ago. The rightly guided caliphate. When, after the death of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, Hazrat Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, became the first caliph, calamities fell upon the Muslims from all sides. Many Muslims refused to pay zakat, alms, and on the other hand, some false prophets emerged. Hazrat Abu Bakr faced great calamities, but with the help of Allah, he fought against all of them and saved Islam. However, Hazrat Abu Bakr's caliphate lasted for only 2 years. After him, the next caliph was Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with him. And now Hazrat Umar took charge of Hazrat Abu Bakr's government, and during his caliphate the world's largest empire was established because the world's great superpowers had been conquered by the Muslims. Hazrat Umar remained caliph for about 10 years and ruled with great justice. During his caliphate, he did not let even a single theft occur and managed the entire system well. Hazrat Umar himself lived a simple life and ruled with honesty because the caliph is not just the guardian of the state, but also of the faith, deen. He imposes punishments according to the laws of the faith, and he is not the caliph of just one country, but of all the Muslims in the world. All the Muslims of the world consider him their leader, and he himself is not above the law. Even a common person can question him. Just as during a sermon by Hazrat Umar, a man stood up and asked where the cloth he was wearing came from, after which Hazrat Umar gave him an answer. Similarly, it is the caliph's responsibility to rule according to the Quran and Sunnah, and under this caliph there are governors who manage different regions. The difference between a caliph and a king is that where the people are servants of the king, the caliph is the servant of the people. A king lives a life of luxury, while a caliph lives like a common man. When Hazrat Abu Bakr became caliph, Imam Ali, peace be upon him, and other companions set his salary to be as much as that of a common labourer. Similarly, in this system of the caliphate, only 2.5% zakat is taken from Muslims, and that too only from rich Muslims. This zakat is deposited in the Bayt ul-Mal, public treasury, and no tax is taken from the poor. From non-Muslims, only jizya is taken, in return for which they receive proper protection from the government. They can live according to their religion and have all kinds of rights. And the agricultural lands that Muslims had conquered from non-Muslims were also returned to the non-Muslims in exchange for a land tax, which Muslims also paid, although they had to pay a little less. In this way, non-Muslims were also very happy with this system of the caliphate. Similarly, unlike the kings of the world, a caliph does not sit on his father's seat. Rather, Muslims themselves choose him through consultation. And that too, a person who has good knowledge of the Quran and Sunnah is honest and knows how to govern. When Muslims choose such a person, all Muslims, one by one, place their hand on his in a pledge of allegiance, bay'ah, which means that they will obey the commands of this caliph. And this is how the entire system of the caliphate works. Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar ruled in this manner. But the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, had said, "The door between my ummah and tribulations, fitna, is Umar." After this, Hazrat Umar was martyred, and the next caliph was Hazrat Uthman. May Allah be pleased with him. The beginning of strife. Hazrat Uthman appointed corrupt governors in his government who started engaging in corruption. Hazrat Uthman ruled for 12 years, and in these 12 years, these governors established their control over his government, and later these same governors became the reason for Hazrat Uthman's martyrdom. These were the same governors who were previously enemies of Islam and now wanted to harm the religion by becoming Muslims, such as Marwan, Walid bin Utbah, and Muawiyah. These were all people from Hazrat Uthman's tribe. Hazrat Uthman appointed them as governors in his government, and these people started doing corruption as soon as they became governors. Hazrat Uthman ruled for 12 years, and in these 12 years, these governors embezzled a lot of money, and people started getting fed up with their actions. Seeing all this, many companions stood up against Hazrat Uthman, such as Hazrat Abu Dar al-Ghifari, Hazrat Ammar ibn Yasir, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and Hazrat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. They were all not happy with Hazrat Uthman's government, because before Hazrat Uthman, during Hazrat Umar's Caliphate, not even a single rupee was stolen, and now the situation had worsened. Besides them, many other companions surrounded Hazrat Uthman's house and asked him to leave the Caliphate. During this time, some people martyred Hazrat Uthman. After Hazrat Uthman, the next Caliph was the peace of my heart, the light of my eyes. Imam Ali became the Caliph. The first thing Imam Ali did was to remove these governors, but they had a habit of haram, ill-gotten wealth. How could they leave the government? And they absolutely could not tolerate Imam Ali, peace be upon him, as Caliph, because Imam Ali was even stricter than Hazrat Umar in matters of governance. Seeing this, these governors blamed Imam Ali, peace be upon him, for Hazrat Uthman's blood, and Sayyida Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, also fell for the words of these governors and stood up against Imam Ali, peace be upon him. After which, a war took place between Imam Ali and Hazrat Aisha, which is called the Battle of Jamal. After this, Muawiyah stood up against Imam Ali, peace be upon him, because he was also the same governor whom Imam Ali had removed. Then Imam Ali, peace be upon him, fought a war with him, which is called the Battle of Siffin. Muawiyah survived this war because Imam Ali, peace be upon him, made an agreement with him at the behest of his companions. But seeing this, Imam Ali's own companions turned against him, and then they fought a war with Imam Ali, which is called the Battle of Nahrawan. And after this war, one of these Kharijitis martyred Imam Ali, peace be upon him. The end of the Rashidun Caliphate and rise of monarchy. After the martyrdom of Imam Ali, peace be upon him, the next caliph was Imam Hassan, peace be upon him. He reached with a large army to fight Muawiyah. But Muawiyah and Amr ibn al-As, seeing this army, offered peace to Imam Hassan. Imam Hassan, peace be upon him, made peace with them because many of his commanders had been bought by Muawiyah, and now he had no other option. But a short time after this, Muawiyah had Imam Hassan, peace be upon him, martyred. And this was the point about which the Prophet, peace be upon him, had said that after me, the caliphate will last for only 30 years. And after that, there will be a biting monarchy, which means that the great caliphate lasted only until the era of Imam Hassan, peace be upon him. After this, from the era of Muawiyah, that biting monarchy began. That is, now not the caliphate, but the system of monarchy began. Muawiyah, upon coming to power, started having curses cast upon Imam Ali, peace be upon him, from the pulpits. Before every sermon, curses were cast on Imam Ali, peace be upon him, and people were forced to curse Ali. And whoever refused to curse was killed, like Hazrat Hujr ibn Adi, who was killed for not cursing Imam Ali. And if a child was named Ali, he was also killed. Besides all this, in Muawiyah's government, governors started wearing large palaces and expensive clothes, where during the time of the Caliphate, Imam Ali, Hazrat Umar, Hazrat Abu Bakr, Hazrat Uthman all lived simple lives. Now in Muawiyah's time, governors started living like kings. They started looting people's wealth illegally, and only the name of justice remained. The times of prayers were being changed, and the sunnah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was being altered. Companions were being killed, and seeing all this, the other companions also remained silent, because raising one's head meant getting it cut off. That is why the Prophet, peace be upon him, had said that there would be a biting monarchy. And this was the difference between the caliphate and monarchy, where the caliphate was according to the Quran and Sunnah, and the caliph lived like a common man, and anyone could stand up and question him. In the monarchy, the rulers lived a life of luxury, and if anyone questioned them, their neck would be chopped off. In the caliphate, the caliph was chosen by the decision of the Muslims, whereas in the monarchy, the king's son became the next king, just as Muawiyah made his son Yazid the king. Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, was alive during this era of Muawiyah and was seeing this oppression. But when Yazid became the caliph and Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, came to know that he too would oppress like his father, he now had only one way: to awaken the conscience of the people with his blood. Where thousands of companions were silently enduring oppression out of fear of death, Hussein stood up and awakened the conscience of the Muslims with his blood, and showed that if the government is in the hands of oppressors, the religion will be tattered, and you will not be able to do anything. And then it happened so. With the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, the Muslims woke up and fought against Yazid. But they too were martyred. Fragmentation and new powers. And so one by one, oppressive kings came after Yazid, and the oppression continued. But then Allah, to give Muslims a taste of the caliphate, made a man a caliph whose name was Umar bin Abdul Aziz. He was the grandson of Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, who had grown up among scholars in Medina and was a righteous man. The king of that time, Sulayman, made him the caliph before his death. Whereas for many years kings had been making their sons the next king before their death, and this was the first time that Sulayman had made his nephew, Hazrat Umar bin Abdul Aziz, the caliph. When Umar bin Abdul Aziz came to know that he had been made the caliph, he started crying and said, "I swear by Allah that I never desired this. I am not a king over you. I am your guardian. If I do right, help me. And if I am wrong somewhere, correct me." After this, Hazrat Umar bin Abdul Aziz took charge of the caliphate, and first of all, ended the curses that the Banu Umayyah had been casting on Imam Ali, peace be upon him, for the past 50 years. He also abolished the heavy taxes imposed on the poor and non-Muslims, which had been collected since the era of King Muawiyah, and warned his governors never to do so again. After this, he also returned the illegally seized lands to the people, which the governors had snatched. He even left his own palace and said that he couldn't live in it, and he himself started living in a simple house, and began to live a very simple life. In his government, he started spreading the Quran and Hadiths and helped the poor and orphans. But all this continued for only 2 years and 5 months. After this, he died. He was martyred by these same oppressive kings who poisoned him, and again the government fell into the hands of oppressors. But by that time, even though oppressive kings were ruling over the Muslims, the largest government in the whole world was still that of the Banu Umayyah. But then the Banu Abbas ended this government of the Banu Umayyah, who were from the lineage of the prophets, peace and blessings be upon him, uncle Hazrat Abbas. They were not happy with this oppressive rule of the Banu Umayyah. These people ended this oppressive rule of the Banu Umayyah, and after gaining power they captured and killed every single person of the Banu Umayyah. Seeing this, the Banu Umayyah king of that time, Abd al-Rahman, fled to Spain and established a new government of the Banu Umayyah there. Now 2 separate governments of Muslims had been formed. On one side, the Banu Abbas, and on the other side, the Banu Umayyah, and both these governments remained for many years. But the Banu Abbas also started ruling like oppressive kings. Then the Fatimid Caliphate was established. These people were Ismaili Shia, and were from the lineage of the al-Bayt. When the Banu Abbas had become quite weak, Ubaydullah declared himself caliph in North Africa and challenged the Banu Abbas, saying that he was the real caliph because he was from the lineage of the al-Bayt. And from then on, the Fatimid Caliphate began to spread, and in 969 AD, they also conquered Egypt and made it their new capital. Now there were not 2 but 3 Muslim governments in the whole world. Then many years later, a man ended this Fatimid Caliphate, whose name was Salahuddin Ayyubi. Music. And after this, the rule of the Ayyubid dynasty came. And in this way, that great caliphate was now divided into pieces, and Muslim governments had become enemies of each other. But then a great threat came before all of them. Genghis Khan, who began to rapidly expand his empire in Asia. And then in the 13th century, his grandson, Hulagu Khan, took the throne and, conquering Persia, reached straight to Baghdad, which was the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. Upon reaching there, he asked the Abbasid Caliph of that time to surrender, but he refused to surrender. After which, Hulagu Khan besieged Baghdad and using Chinese machines broke the city's defenses in 13 days. And after that they killed millions of Muslims, burned mosques and even destroyed the House of Wisdom, from where Muslim scientists had emerged. The Mongols destroyed many other Islamic sultanates, and now the Muslim governments were divided into small pieces. The Ottoman Empire and its decline. After this, the Ottoman Empire was established and became a large Islamic empire, which was the most powerful Islamic empire of that time. And Muslims began to consider their leaders as their own leaders, and the government was still with the Muslims. Even Palestine was under the Ottoman Empire. On the other hand, in India there was the rule of the Mughals. In this way, the Ottoman Empire ruled for many hundreds of years. But then in the 17th century, European powers like Britain and France and other countries began to expand their rule, and they started taking Muslim lands under their control. For example, in the 18th century, Britain's East India Company defeated the Mughal Sultanate and took control of India and looted India's resources for many years. Not only India, but Britain also took control of Egypt, which was under the Ottoman Empire, because Egypt's Suez Canal was very important for Britain. The world's ships passed through here. After this, North Africa and West Africa all came under the control of the Europeans, one by one, and the Ottoman Empire became weak. These Europeans started interfering in the politics of the Ottoman Empire and tried to make them fight among themselves, and in this way, the Ottoman Empire became weak. And on top of that, the Ottoman Empire now had to import goods from Europe, and due to wars, they had also accumulated a lot of debt. Seeing all this, Sultan Abdul Hamid II tried hard to save his caliphate, but failed. After this, a Jew named Theodore Herzl, who was a Zionist, seeing the bad condition of the Ottoman Empire, came to Sultan Abdul Hamid and asked for permission for Jews to live in Palestine, and in return he was ready to pay off the Ottoman Empire's debt. At that time, Jews were not allowed to live in Palestine. They could only visit there, and Hazrat Umar had given them permission to visit there during his caliphate, and Sultan Abdul Hamid also did not give them permission to live there. While the rule of Muslims in the whole world was becoming very weak, on the other hand, in Europe, Jews were becoming very powerful. They were progressing in politics, education, and business. At this time, Theodore Herzl published a book called The Jewish State. In this book, he encouraged Jews from all over the world that we Jews should also have our own separate country. This book became very famous, and in this way, Jews from all over the world started demanding their own separate country. And thus, Theodore Herzl held the first Zionist Congress in which Jews talked about their separate country. They made a deal with Britain that we Jews will support you against the Ottoman Empire, and in return, you will give us a separate country. And after that, Jews from all over the world started coming to Palestine and buying land there. The final fall. Then, in 1914, World War I happened. In this war, the Ottoman Empire sided with Germany and fought against Britain, France, and Russia because they had occupied many parts of the Ottoman Empire. The Sultan of that time, Mehmed V, had hoped that perhaps he could take back his lost lands. He called on all the Muslims of the world to unite. When Britain saw this, it knew that if the Muslims united, it would be a great threat to them. So Britain and France together made a plan so that after the war, the Arab countries would become enemies of each other. First, Britain sent a letter to Sharif Hussein of Mecca, who already wanted to free Mecca from the Ottoman Empire. Britain brought him to its side and promised to give them independence in return. Britain gave them gold and weapons and captured Mecca, Jeddah, Damascus, Syria, and Palestine. And after that, they also broke the promise of giving independence to the Muslims of Mecca. And in this way, in this war, the Middle East also slipped out of the hands of the Ottoman Empire. After that, they fulfilled the promise they had made to the Jews to give them a separate country and gave more than half of Palestine to the Jews. The Ottoman Empire, seeing its bad condition, signed a deal with Britain and accepted its defeat. And now the Ottoman Empire was left only up to Turkey, and the other Arab regions like Iraq, Syria, Palestine and Jordan all came under Britain and France. Besides them, the Muslims of India, Africa, Asia, all of them now had no leader, which used to be the Ottoman Sultan. Then in 1923, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk gained power in Turkey. Seeing this, Sultan Mehmed VI, who was the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, fled Istanbul. And then Mustafa Kemal Ataturk made Turkey a separate secular state. That is, now the system of the Caliphate will not run in Turkey. Seeing this, Muslims all over the world were shocked, because now that system of the Caliphate was finished, because in the system of the Caliphate, punishments were given according to Sharia, and the law of Islam was followed, and now that system was abolished from the whole world. Seeing this, a poet sitting in India was very sad, whose name was Allama Iqbal, and then he got the idea of creating a separate country where the law of Islam could run.